HBO Max is raising prices for all of its plans.
Disney is increasing subscription prices for Disney Plus.
Users will have to pay $6.99 a month for each additional user.
The free ride era of streaming is coming to an end.
Big Tech has been getting more and more aggressive every single year. They used to be much more subtle about it, but now with rising subscriptions and hardware costs, their goal is becoming much more obvious. Own nothing, then rent it back to you. So I built my own home lab, and now I can stream movies, photos, music, download games, even run video game servers, and so much more, all without having to subscribe to anything. And it's way easier than you think. I spent the last year documenting everything I've learned, detaching myself from as many services as I can, and I want to share everything with you, from the cheapest and most expensive hardware to software, the best apps, and getting everything online. It's time to take back control over your data before it's too late. So most of our day-to-day lives, like our photos, our files, our Ring cameras, even random stuff like video game saves, are incredibly dependent on other companies holding everything together and storing your files on their data centers somewhere in some random field in Texas. The idea was, at some point, to make your life more convenient. Let them take on the stress and cost of managing all that data and files and stuff, and you don't have to worry about your stuff being lost or damaged. But as I'm sure you've noticed, times have changed, and what was at one point just like, oh, this is a nice, like, convenient thing, is now dependence on these services. Which means when they decide to raise the prices, remove features, delete your account, or change the terms of service to start scanning your images and data for things that they should have no reason to keep, you're just stuck there. So you know how people say the cloud is just someone else's computer? Well, Homelabbing is basically the reverse of that. Instead of putting all your files, photos, cloud storage, etc. on Google servers, they live on a system that you control at home without ever having to worry about what Google or Microsoft or Apple is gonna do next. Like, think of it like Minecraft servers. You remember setting up one of those on your PC for your friends to all play together? It was really great until you turned off your PC and then your friends couldn't play anymore. Now imagine if you had a low-powered, compact little machine that's whole job is to just always be on, all the time, always, so it can run things like your Minecraft server. But also a lot of other apps like a self-hosted cloud storage or self-hosted photos or self-hosted media player, self-hosted YouTube, and yes, even your friend's Minecraft server. That's what a home lab is at its core. So if that sounds interesting to you, awesome. Now there are a billion different ways to configure your server with different hardware, different apps, different workflows. I'm gonna show you mine, and then hopefully it gives you some ideas as to what you wanna pursue in your own setup. So you wanna get into home lab. Okay, awesome. So what do you buy exactly? Do I need like hardware or like hard drives? I keep hearing people talk about like DAS and NAS and AS and Kubernetes, or well, what is all that? Well, there's a whole range of prices that you can start spending on for a home lab server. Anything from completely free all the way over like thousands of dollars Linus Tech Tip setups. But the common thing in all of these hardware setups is that they're usually low power by design, they can stay on for super duper long periods of time, and they have a decent Ethernet jack so we can communicate with the rest of the house. So if you're wondering, can I use X as a server? Check and see if they meet all three of those requirements. So no, your old Xbox 360 unfortunately can't be run as a server, but your old Wii can, apparently. We should do a video on that. I want to show you a range of different setups from the low end all the way up to super duper high end stuff, and then you decide how much that you want to spend on your home lab server. But I want to make it clear, because I didn't know this when I first started, you don't need a super duper powerful machine to run a server unless you're explicitly running something that requires that much hardware. Good examples are like local AI models or like, video transcoding. Self-hosted apps tend to be really, really light, and that's by design. Got it? Okay, so what are our options? So probably the cheapest option is actually gonna be completely free. If you already have an old laptop or a desktop PC that you may have lying around that's just too old to really run anything anymore, you could totally wipe Windows off of it and repurpose it as a home lab server. I got this one from my dad that it's just, he forgot the password to, but it's so old now that there's no point in even trying to use it anymore. If you're doing the laptop route though, the only suggestion I'd give is, since this is gonna live forever, maybe consider removing the battery from the laptop. Those things can get pretty spicy over time. With something like this, you can easily start running like a server OS on it and start running self-hosted apps. But I won't lie, it's kind of clumsy to store it and stash away somewhere. So what if we wanted something a little bit more designed for a server? Now, the next step above that would be a recycled office PC. Yeah, you know the little office PC that you see at places like a pharmacy or the DMV or at school or whatever? Yeah, so companies and schools buy out like 100 of these little tiny PCs at a time every few years, and then sell all their old ones for super duper cheap. They sip power, they're super reliable, and they're perfect for what we're using them for, since they're meant to just run stuff like Microsoft Office and Excel and whatnot. Just so you know what you're looking for, most of the big computer companies tend to have a special name for their special like business class PCs. So Lenovo has Lenovo ThinkCenters, HP has Elite Desks and Pro Desks for their nicer stuff, and Dell has Optiplex. Bigger desktops also have the benefit of having way more room for proper hard drives, which means you could buy a bunch of hard drives and then just stick them in there. Now, in terms of specs, this is Jeff's opinion, okay? I would look for something that has at least 8 gigs of RAM and at least an 8th gen Intel CPU. Now, the current RAM shortage is making this a little bit harder than it used to be, and I do see prices already going up. So if you're thinking of maybe picking up one down the line, do it now before these things end up being worth more than like gold or something. I'll link some places to buy these in the description. I was able to pick up this HP 600 from OfferUp for 75 bucks, which has a 9th gen Core i5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 128 gig SSD, which is plenty for what we're trying to run on this thing. I mean, we're just running a bunch of self-hosted apps. And the crazy part, this thing just sips power, even when it's actually running apps and stuff. It's insane. And these ones are super cool because they literally require no tools to open up in case you need to swap out RAM or a new SSD or anything. Now, just this by itself is cool, but add an external USB hard drive like this one, and now you have a Homelab server with storage, which means you can do a lot more like cloud storage, file backups, media server to hold movies and TV shows and stuff, and access it from anywhere. It's really, really great. Link in the description if you want the one that I'm using, by the way. I got a 26 terabyte one, but they totally make much smaller ones. Don't worry. This little office PC and a 26 terabyte USB drive is what's gonna be running my Homelab server here, at least until I can afford something a little bit nicer. So if it's good enough for Jeff, it's good enough for you, okay? Now, the only downside with this setup is that there's no redundancy, meaning that if this hard drive dies, that's it. Everything is lost. Shit. But as a first real proper server setup, this is a great way to get into it, and lots of people just stop here. Another downside though is upgradability. You can't keep plugging USB hard drives in this thing since it starts to get really messy and slow, and cables get everywhere. It's not really great. So the next setup that you'll see is a mini PC and a DAS. This is where you start separating things between the processing power and your storage. Mini PCs are great for this because they're still pretty cheap. They got newer processors and usually cost less than like a spec'd out office PC. Something like this from GMK Tech has these specs and could be had for about 300 bucks. And some people just straight up use Mac Minis for their server since they're like the only good deals left on computers right now. And you can go even cheaper if you look for them in the right places. I'll link these ones in the description. If you're paying more than this for a refurbished office PC, yeah, honestly, just go for the mini PC at that point. These are also great because you can run virtual machines on them, no problem. So if you need a copy of Windows real quick for something, or Linux, Debian, freaking Hannah Montana OS, great. You can spin up multiple of them and run them on your server and connect to them from anywhere. As for storage, you're gonna want a direct attached storage or a DAS. It's basically just a box that's just meant to hold hard drives that plugs straight into your server via USB. So you can add more drives down the line, or you can have redundancy set up so that way if one of your hard drives dies, like your whole data doesn't get completely destroyed. And it's generally much cleaner of a setup. This one from Oracle can be had for less than 100 bucks and gives you way more upgradability options. Now it's starting to become like a proper server setup. Now the DAS is just that. It's just an attached storage. There's no brains or drive management or anything happening on here. It's just a box. That's it. All of the hard drives have to be managed by some sort of software, usually the mini PC. Now, at this point, you're setting up the hardware, installing the software, running a DAS, getting all the wires set up, and this is great, but what if I just want something to do all of this for me, ready to go right out of the box? And that's when you finally move to a proper NAS system, or a network attached storage. It's like a mini PC and a DAS all in one that's specifically designed to just be a server. Now, NASs used to be considered not good Homelab servers like a long time ago, but nowadays the hardware in these things are pretty good enough to be used for running apps and doing more than just managing your files. Ugreen, Synology, and QNAP are the most popular ones in the NAS space. They're also great because they're literally just plug and play. Just put in your hard drives and you're done. You're all ready to go. And they all have their own operating systems too that usually have the stuff that you already want pre-installed, like a cloud sync, Docker, an app store. and an interface so you can already just start accessing your files. These are considerably more expensive, but they really just configure everything for you. And you can get right to doing HomeLab stuff, and they can fit anywhere. I mean, I literally have one sitting in my closet like right now back at home. It's really, really nice. So now you know the basics. That's basically all that a HomeLab is. A computer, an Ethernet connection to your network somehow, and usually some hard drives to store stuff. A server is basically just some combination of all of those. And then down the line, you can add other stuff too, like a UPS, which think of it like a battery bank, but for your server. If your power dies or something, it'll still run on battery for like 10-ish minutes, so that way you have time to shut down everything safely and not lose any data. So the high-end business stuff with server racks and everything you see like in movies and stuff like that, they're literally the exact same thing, but some people might just want more Ethernet jacks to hardline their server to multiple computers, or like way more hard drive slots to be able to store stuff. Or some people like having multiple PCs connected together so that way they can combine processing power together on tasks. That's called clustering, by the way. Okay, it's pop quiz time. You weren't gonna get away from here without, actually testing what you learned. So I asked my Discord members, a bunch of them, just to send pictures of their HomeLab servers so we can kind of look through them and look through examples and identify what they're doing. So let's try something really easy. I mean, this is a really basic one. Let's try this one. Okay, so can you identify all three things here? PC, hard drive, and our network connection. Okay, simple enough. Let's try something a little bit tougher. Same thing with this one. Let's try this one. Same thing. We got PCs, hard drives, and a network connection. Are we getting it? Okay, let's try something else. Okay, this one's really long, so I'm gonna try to crop it or something, but basically same concept, right? PCs, hard drives, and network. Same thing, right? So those little things, they're little slots that you can put in hard drives. Makes sense, right? Some people like a lot of hard drives though. Jesus Christ. That's a server. Oh God. But it technically counts though. PC, network connection, hard drives, and a UPS there, so that way stuff doesn't shut down. Good Lord, it looks like it's coming out of Silent Hill or something. Hold on, this is just in your living room? Bro, what do guests say when you come in here? Like, you got the entirety of Facebook running in your living room. What do you even do with that? Wow. Well, you got PC, we got storage, and we got a network connection, so it counts. If this was a horse, I would shoot it. So that's the hardware side. If you take nothing else from this video, at the very least, you know what servers do, and you can tell what they're doing just by looking at them. Yeah, no one had a decent explanation on all of this when I looked it up on YouTube. Hopefully, Jeff's explanation finally cleared up what people are talking about when they say HomeLab or NAS or DAS or whatever. And at the very least, I earned your subscribe too. Come on, I worked so hard on this explanation. I think I earned it. So you got your hardware secured. Now, what do we do with it? So first, we need to install a proper operating system to run all of our server stuff. Windows is almost never used for home server stuff because they're pretty bloated and have a bunch of features that we won't ever use. They're not really designed to manage stuff like this. Plus, this thing is going to be in a closet somewhere or tucked away under the entertainment center. So we're going to want to be able to still interact with it even without a mouse and keyboard and a monitor. Some plug-and-play NASs like Ugreen and Synology will already have a built-in interface you can connect to using a web browser. So you just type in the IP address of your NAS and bam, you can start fiddling with it from whatever machine you want. And that's the main way we'll be interacting with our server when we use it. And some of them even have plug-and-play apps so you can still tweak stuff on your phone. But if you're starting from fresh hardware, you're going to want to wipe Windows entirely. That means we're running Linux.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no.
Oh, wait, come on, guys. It's really cool. Just give me a sec. Yeah, so there's operating systems that are designed from the ground up to manage home servers, just like the ones from the pre-built companies. It's really easy. You usually just have to download an ISO, install it to a flash drive using something like Belina Etcher, plug it into whatever hardware that you're using, spam the f out of the F12 key like it owes you money or something, and eventually you'll be able to get into the BIOS where you can boot your flash drive and install your OS of choice. Now, this is mostly personal preference. Seriously, go try them out yourself and see what you end up liking. And if you realize down the line that you wanted something else or you want to start over, don't worry, it's usually really easy to transfer over everything without wiping all of your stuff. I'll show you some of the more popular ones. TrueNAS is the industry standard and even the business standard. And they do have a free version that will be more than enough for most people. But man, there are a lot of options, almost to a fault. But if you love tinkering with stuff, there's lots of guides for the software and it's super duper accessible. Unraid is cool because it lets you combine hard drives of different sizes, which isn't usually possible with normal RAID configurations. And it has pretty decent app support and community support too. But this isn't a free OS though, it is paid, about $50 for a year of updates. Still, it's really popular and there's lots of support around it. Now, I found one that I really liked for new hardware, Zima OS. This one has the most normally looking interface that I found that I think would be the best start for most people. It has a really pretty, super easy to understand interface that doesn't feel like it's overwhelming you with information. It has support for all the big file formats, backup support, Dropbox, Google Drive Sync, etc. And it even has an app, like the big guys do. Android only though. And an awesome app store that I struggled to find missing apps for. Like this store really has pretty much everything you'll ever need. Now Zima OS is free, however, it only supports up to 4 hard drives on the free version. I don't think most people will ever be hitting that limit, so for 90% of people, you're good to go. But the full version with unlimited drives is $29, and that's for a lifetime license. No subscriptions. On my McChicken scale, that checks out. Yeah, that's only 8.3 McChickens. So I'm gonna be using Zima OS for the rest of this video, but every OS has their own equivalent feature of what I'm talking about. It just might be named differently. Hey, do you hate having to make doctor's appointments? I mean, I'm sure it's not because you don't want to. I mean, you still want to be able to be around to see GTA 6 come out, right? It's just that it's such a pain having to deal with finding the right phone numbers, being placed on hold, figuring out if they actually take your insurance at all, and then waiting an hour on hold to find out if maybe they might have some time to see you. Thankfully, we have a really nice solution for that now, and we don't have to deal with that anymore with our sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a completely free website that helps you book any doctors, dentists, psychiatrists, eye care, whatever you need, and helps you find people near you that actually fit your needs. So if you want to filter by which ones take your insurance or in-person meets only, ZocDoc lets you do that seamlessly. And you can check out reviews from people that actually met with that doctor. And when you're ready, you can book an appointment right then and there, with some even being able to meet within 72 hours of booking. As someone who hates having to make phone calls to make a doctor's appointment, being able to find a professional the same way I look at reviews for like a restaurant is so nice. Take care of yourself this year. Scan the QR code up here or click the link in the description to try it out. It's free. And thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring this channel so we can keep making cool videos like this. So let's talk about storage. So the main big reason most people will want to set up a server at home is to use it as their own personal cloud storage, which means you can access it from anywhere, even outside of your house, and feel safe knowing that it's back at home and not going through some third party or being scanned on someone else's server. So you're gonna need some hard drives to store all of your stuff. Now, this is why I was saying, if you're looking to do self-hosting stuff, do it now, before it's too late. Hardware trends, unfortunately, are not in our favor here. Data centers buying up tons of PC hardware is the reason we're in this situation in the first place. So first they came for RAM, then SSDs, and now hard drives are going up next. We're right here. Yes, I know that prices are starting to go up already, but I want to be clear about this. This isn't going to get better anytime soon. And unfortunately, this is not one of those situations where just waiting it out is going to help. Costs will get worse before they get better. And companies like OpenAI and Microsoft have already bought out a majority of the hardware supply until 2029. That's a really long time to be waiting. And then by then, be honest, do you really think we're just gonna go back to $90 for a terabyte SSD again? Like, it really feels like the end game here is to make ownership of your hardware unreachable. Little tangent, by the way, but man, it's been a really bad decade for PC parts, I feel like. We just can't win. It's been bad for almost every single year this decade. At some point, this just becomes like the new normal now, right? Anyways, if you're just now starting out, don't focus on getting the perfect setup and filling up all the drives all at once, all that. You don't have to do that. My suggestion, get 2 4TB drives for now, and then upgrade if you can down the line later. The type of hard drive also matters a lot too. There's usually server grade ready hard drives that are designed to be running 24/7 in a NAS or a home server. For example, Western Digital has WD Reds, which signify, yeah, they're built for extended use compared to their regular WD Blue drives. Full disclosure, they were kind enough to send me these for the video because I would have had to sell my car to be able to get this amount of storage now. But they do make smaller sizes too, don't worry, you do not have to go overkill like this. I'll link some in the description. Now we should probably talk about hard drive pools. For servers, hard drives aren't read in the same way that your laptop or your PC would use them. It would be very slow and inefficient to store files that way. So servers use something called RAID, where instead of it being like, 5, 6, 7 smaller RAID drives, they're combined into one super big single drive that you can host your files on. And your operating system will be smart enough to know how to distribute that data for optimal speed. You usually don't have to do anything special to do this. The setup process of the OS usually asks you what kind of setup that you want. Now this setup is called RAID 0. However, because they're all linked together now, if one of those drives dies, all of your data is gone. If you're just hosting movies or TV shows or something like that, yeah, that's fine, who cares? You can just always re-download those. But if you're hosting personal stuff like photos or irreplaceable documents, that's not good. So there's another version called RAID 5, which is what I use. This setup still makes one really big drive out of all your drives, but if one of your drives dies for any reason, your data is still completely intact and safe. Now, if 2 drives die, then yeah, you're screwed. But this setup should at least give you some time to go replace that dead drive. The catch? Well, this setup requires you to sacrifice 1 drive in your pool. So if you have 4 10 terabyte drives, you don't get a full 40 terabytes to use. You get 27 terabytes of usable storage. Yeah, you basically lose an entire drive for the storage. But it's worth it if it means that your server has some line of redundancy. There are more versions of RAID, but really, those 2 are the only important ones to know, honestly. So if you want my advice, do RAID 5, and I'll link this calculator in the description so you can test configurations for yourself. Once you created your pool, you can usually just start drag and dropping files into it. Cool. But you can now also access this from any device on your network too. So for example, on macOS, I can just click on connect to server in the Finder, type in my server's IP, sign in, and that's it. Look, now it's just being detected as some big ass external drive that you can just use it for anything. If you have a decent Ethernet connection to your server, you can even use this as an editing drive for photos and videos. It's really, really nice. And this isn't just on computers either. You can even connect to it on your phone. It's really nice. Now this will only work as long as you're connected to the same network as your server, but I'll show you how we can access it remotely from anywhere later. Don't worry. So now we got that figured out, let's talk about apps for your server. Yeah, now this is the fun part. Now, almost all the big operating systems will have app stores, so you never have to even configure anything yourself. You can just click install and you're done. It's all set up for you. But the amount of apps that a store might have varies depending on what operating system you're using. And some operating systems have like 4 apps total on their app store. So I want to show you how to get familiar with how to install any app that you want onto your server. So almost every app that you'll install is run through something called Docker. And most apps are run through Docker containers, which are just super little lightweight isolated containers for your apps that have all the right settings, components, drivers, whatever it may need, all set up for you. That is isolated from the rest of your apps so it can't destroy each other. Now each OS has their own Docker manager, but honestly, some of them are great and some just suck. And the variances make it really difficult to follow along if you're just starting. So my advice, go to your app store and see if they have Portainer. This is a Docker management app that makes it way easier to see all of your Docker apps, install new ones, and make changes to your existing one. Also, it just makes it much easier to look up installation tutorials. So now you can just go look up how to install blank app Portainer. It's way easier now. So now that we got that out of the way, what can we install? I want to go over a few sections I feel are essential for a lot of people, but this isn't everything, unfortunately. I'm going to miss some things. This video is already really long, so just keep that in mind. There's no way I could have gotten to everything. Photos are really important to me. I noticed somewhere around my teenage years that, man, like no matter how big a memory might be for me, I somehow always slowly end up forgetting it. Memories fade, but photos don't forget. So I photograph everything. I take my camera almost everywhere, even where places where it doesn't really make much sense to bring one. But those always end up capturing some of my most favorite memories. So keeping those photos secure and safe is really important to me. I've been using Google Photos for the last, I want to say like 10 years now. God, I'm getting old. And I switched over for the same reason probably a lot of you guys did. Unlimited storage forever. Yeah, big, fat, ugly, stinky asterisks on the forever part, by the way. By the way, look at how big these kids were on these phones. Oh my God. And those were the good examples that they had. Well, it turns out forever actually meant 6 years, as they no longer offer free unlimited storage since 2021. And if you want to keep uploading photos, you got to buy more storage, which sucks because I'm sure a lot of people signed up under the expectation that their stuff would just be safe there forever, right? I mean, let's call it what it was. It was a bait and switch. Their plan was to get people hooked on the unlimited storage, make them move their entire life over there, and then jack up the price when they're ready. And you're going to see that pattern a lot in this video. So let me introduce you to Image. This is one of my favorite apps that I found to replace Google and iCloud Photos. It has pretty much everything you'd want from a photo management software. It can sort by dates, detect duplicate photos, crop images, and can even detect faces, all locally, offline, which is amazing. I also love sharing pictures with friends after a trip, so that was super important for me. Thankfully, Image also makes sharing albums really, really easy. You just make a link and just text it over to your friends. And you can make users too, so everyone in your family can have their own separate Image account login, and no one's photos are all mixed up together. It even has a wonderful map that takes all the location data from your pictures and shows you where all of your photos were taken, a feature that somehow Google Photos still doesn't have on their own desktop site. They also have a phone app too, so you can just use it like Photos, where it'll automatically back up your camera roll and your stuff is safely backed up to your home server, not Google servers. It also has support for highlights, which I just love that. And iOS widgets, which this is actually really important to me. I love seeing where I was 5 years ago exactly to this day. Like, that's really cool. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is that a new studio space? Did Jeff move or something? And the answer is yes, I did. I did a whole video explaining all of that on my new second channel. New second channel. Link in the description. But also, you're probably thinking, image sounds great if you're starting a brand new library. But I already have all my stuff backed up on iCloud or Google Photos, and it sounds like such a pain figuring out how to download and transfer all of that over to Image. Oh my God, it's gonna take like 4 days to organize everything and make sure the dates are right, and I have like 80 gigs of photos of just my stupid dog. All right, relax. They thought of that too. So for iPhone people, Apple actually gives you a way to download all of the photos from your iCloud account, amongst other things, and send them over in 10 or 20 or 25 gigabyte sections. It's kind of hidden, but I'll link it in the description so you can find it. Now this might take anywhere from a few hours to 4 days, depending on how many photos you have. But eventually they'll send over download links to all of your stuff with EXIF data and live photos information attached too. This is really important because Image does have the ability to detect live photos properly, which is really, really nice. Same thing for Google Photos. They have a page where you can request all of your stuff in one go. My only suggestion is when your files are ready, just download Firefox on your server real quick and download them through there. So that way you can just download it directly to your server and you don't have to spend an extra day downloading everything to your computer, then transferring it over to your server. Now that you got your photos, you can use an app called Image Go that knows how to read iCloud and Google Photos directories and sync them over seamlessly to Image. Literally everything is done for you. I have almost 15 years of my life stored on my Google Photos. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Photos are a really big part of my life. And being able to know that all of these are stored safely back at home is a big deal to me, without having to be stored in some random server being scanned for who knows what. So there's a lot of video game related self-hosted stuff that's really helpful in removing dependence from outside services. A big one for sure is ROM managers. I love these things. ROM is the most popular one that I've seen. If you're one of the people that has like thousands of ROMs for emulators just sitting in a ROMs folder on your desktop or something, ROM is a much more elegant solution to that. Man, these app names are terrible to search up. Google literally thinks you're just misspelling the word ROM the whole time. It's a database for your ROMs, so it can scan your folders and display all your ROMs with its matching cover art, title, release date, etc., and automatically sort everything by console, genre, and it'll even auto-generate collections from your library too. Just search up the game or console that you're looking for, find your game, and just click download. And it'll just grab it from your self-hosted collection of ROMs. What, doesn't everyone have their collection of 35,000 Switch ROMs backed up somewhere? I'm not crazy. And again, because this is accessed through a web browser, that means you can access this on your phones or your handhelds and download stuff without having to get a USB cable and a computer anymore. It's like your own virtual VIMS layer. Oh, and you can even upload BIOS files too, so you don't have to check your downloads folder anymore to see where the hell did you leave that file. And you can even store save files too. There is so much more configuration here and ways to manage this app. I'd be here all day showing everything off, but this is the craziest feature, honestly. Built-in emulator support. Yeah, ROM has a built-in web emulator that can let you play your ROMs right in your web browser from anywhere. It supports consoles all the way up to PSP, which is crazy to me. So in theory, you could hook up a controller to your laptop or your phone, boot into ROM's game mode, and just pick the games that you want and start playing. Currently supports all the way up to PSP, which, I mean, still bonkers to me. I know it's not a hard device to emulate anymore, but dude, this is being streamed and played on my NAS, of all things, across the internet. And since this is running on your server, that means you can invite your friends so they can also download and play from your collection, legally, of course. And I'll show you how to connect your apps to the outside world later on in the video, don't worry. This is a crazy customizable app that lets you do so much with your totally legit, completely legal ROM collection. However, the devs have acknowledged this to me. The file structure to get this running is very finicky, and the database itself is kind of difficult to set up. So I do want to mention an alternative, RetroROM. It does almost everything ROM does, so it lets you categorize your games, lets you download them, console mode, built-in emulators, etc. But I just personally really like the user interface a lot more compared to ROM. And it's a bit easier to set up the folder directories for your games. Totally subjective though, I know, but I did figure I should mention it. Not many people know about this one, which sucks because I think it's really, really great. If you want to keep it alive, go give it a try. I'll link it in the description. Another amazing app that I would suggest is Application Management Panel, or AMP. Again, what is it with these names, dude? This app lets you make one-click game servers for any game that you can think of. Minecraft, Counter-Strike, Power World, Gmod, even TeamSpeak servers if you want. So if you want to start another 2-week Minecraft phase again with your buddies, instead of paying another $8 a month for a Minecraft realm server, you can just create a new instance, pick Minecraft, and that's it. You're up and running. And your Minecraft server is live. But this is only a local IP though. It's only accessible in your network. So how do we get this out into the public internet? All right, I remember back in the day, we would have to learn how to port forward from some YouTube tutorial from a 12-year-old with a Bandicam watermark on the screen. And those who didn't want to deal with that used the LogMe and Hamachi. Yeah, there's like 30 people right now watching that just sat up hearing that name again. Yeah, I know what you were doing. I know what you were. Thankfully, we don't have to do any of that anymore because now we can just use a service like playit.gg to expose your servers to the internet. Oh, and don't worry, they have a paid plan, but like you don't need to pay for what we're using it for. That way we can take any of our server IPs, route it through their service, and then publish it out into the internet safely so you're not just exposing your IP willy-nilly. Then they give you a link that you can give to your friends, and look, now anyone can use this link to join your server, and you don't have to go into your router settings anymore. You got me feeling like Skydoes Minecraft over here. Whatever happened to that guy anyways? Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Now I should mention that this app is great, but it's not free. But it's not crazy expensive either. A pro license is $20 and that's for a lifetime license, which is awesome. $20 for 15 of your servers for any game that you could possibly want compared to 2.5 months of a Minecraft Realm subscription. Come on, that's totally worth it. Plus, you get to be the cool friend that can set up servers for game nights so that way no one's got to pay for a server anymore or figure out port forwarding. You got to stock up on RAM though. Game servers tend to really like a RAM. If you want to host multiple servers at the same time, you're going to want to get as much RAM as possible. I'm going to link some cheap sticks in the description so that way you can... Oh, and before I forget, quick shout out to this app that I've been actually personally helping contribute to, Fireshare. Think of it like Google Photos, but for your game clips. So you can upload your game clips to it and it'll automatically detect the game, date, etc. So you can keep them organized and generate a link to send to your friends so they can watch it too. You can even open up your server for any of your friends to upload and have it be a really great big group database for all of your friends to share their clips together in one spot so anyone can access it whenever. It also has really great transcoding options, so as soon as you start uploading, it can start making 1080p, 720p, or 480p versions of your clips, so they can load faster for your friends with slower internet connections. I personally have mine set up with SyncThing, so every time I clip something with Shadowplay when I'm playing games, it automatically gets sent over to my Fireshare folder, and it can get scanned right away and start detecting the game, date, thumbnail, and transcoding the video in 1080p and 720p versions. I've kept a lot of old game clips over the years dating all the way back to like 2014. And having a decent interface to be able to document them and keep them organized is so nice. Now, I want to be clear, this is not my project. The devs working on this have done a phenomenal job making a usable database to organize everything, but I noticed that their interface was kind of lacking, to put it nicely. But before YouTube, my background was actually in graphic design and UX design, so I know that there's places where my experience can help, and that's how I've been contributing. Seriously, I'm really proud of how much this app has grown in just the last few months, and I could like personally say that I contributed to that. I'm so proud of that. Please go download it, check it out. I would really, really love some feedback from more people to make sure that we're on the right track. Okay, so what about movies and TV shows? I was gonna explain why you should switch over to self-hosting your own media, but honestly, I don't think I have to. Probably because odds are you probably already experienced it. Streaming subscriptions are constantly going up, that it's become a yearly thing now at this point. And it's not just one platform either. All of them are doing this. Dude, I remember Disney Plus launched in 2019 for $7 a month with 4K and all of that. And yeah, I bought into it. It was a pretty easy way to shut up the little siblings, you know? Why not? Now Disney Plus is $12 for the ad-supported version and $19 for the ad-free version. So now you pay more than double compared to when it first launched, and you still see ads. No joke, in just the last couple months of 2026, 4 streaming services increased their prices. Every single year, that is unacceptable. Then there's the other stuff like having to chase down a specific streaming service because it's on Hulu now, or now it's on Netflix or Paramount or whatever. Honestly, nothing proves my point more than this official chart from Pokemon that shows you where to watch the entire Pokemon series from start to finish. Seriously, pause this for a sec and just read how ridiculous this looks. I feel like you gotta have like a PhD in this stuff. And of course, services just outright removing your movies and TV shows off of their services after a few months, and sometimes even a few weeks. The Twilight series is my favorite example of this. They have some of the shortest licensing deals in the market. And you know the crazy part? Right around fall, autumn-y time, the Twilight Saga movies will actually get pulled entirely from streaming services or move exclusively to one specific streaming service. You know why? Because they know once fall hits, people are gonna be more likely to buy it or rent it for full price. Like, that's creepy, knowing that not only are publishers aware of what fans like to do, but they also use that to extract more money out of them. That's so gross. So let's say enough of that and keep our own library at home. I'm gonna show you two options. One of them is paid and one of them is open source. This is Plex, and it's by far my favorite app out of the whole self-hosted ecosystem. This app is your new interface for all of your legally downloaded movies and TV shows. It scans your folders and can automatically pick up all the metadata for your movies and TV shows. Episodes, cover art, actors, even the old special feature bonuses. And they have clients for pretty much anything that you want. Roku, LG, Apple TV, iOS, Android. So you can access your stuff from anywhere really easily. And I honestly just really love the look of the interface too. And because you have a bunch of storage now, that means you can store really high quality rips of your movies and TV shows. And it does make a difference. 4K Netflix and 4K local is not the same thing. Now, they do have a paid membership that does offer some really cool features like skipping intros, remote watching so you don't have to set anything up to be able to access your Plex library outside of your network, real-time hardware transcoding so you can stream 1080p or 720p versions of your content, and downloading from anywhere. No setup required. They also have an awesome music client called PlexAmp that's meant to be your self-hosted Apple Music or Spotify, and I love it. I wanted to do more coverage on music, but I think that deserves its own video topic, so keep an eye out for that. Now, this price is a bit steep, but it is a lifetime membership, and you never have to pay for it again. Now, I want to be upfront. I see a lot of people having complaints about Plex, not only because of the price, but also because it seems like they're heading in the direction of being more of a live internet TV kind of company, as opposed to a proper self-hosted type of company. If that bothers you, I totally understand. But you can always disable all that stuff and just keep the media section visible. That's what I do. But if you don't want to pay for something like this, there's a really great alternative called Jellyfin. It's basically Plex, but open source and completely free. It can do transcoding right out of the box. You can create profiles for your family, and it has plugin support so you can change the look or the functionality of your Jellyfin server. It's a wonderful app, don't get me wrong. And if you're looking for something that's open source and free, it's a no-brainer. Go use Jellyfin right now. There's just two things that kind of bother me that keeps me from being able to use it. Number one, it doesn't have remote streaming built in. So that means if you want to access your Jellyfin from outside of your house, you got to expose your ports and do port forwarding on your router or run it through a reverse proxy, which we'll talk about later. But point is, it's not plug and play. And the second thing is that client support isn't great. Like, there's a Jellyfin app on all the big platforms, but they're not really good. The iOS one is literally just the web app version of Jellyfin. Now, there's a bunch of third-party clients that have been trying to fill in that gap, like Infuse, which are kind of good, but man, it's not gonna be a native experience at all. Still, if you're looking for a free and open source option, nothing is gonna be Jellyfin. And the most important part with both of these apps, it's all local. It is all housed at your house. It cannot be taken away from you. Now, this is all great, but if everything I'm downloading is local, how do I find recommendations and stuff for movies and TV shows? I don't want to be cut off from the rest of the world, you know? Like, I still want to know what's going on outside. Well, that's where an app like Seer comes into play. It's a wonderful app that helps you discover and find all the stuff that's playing right now across all those different streaming services. You can sort by movies, TV shows, trending, studio, even sort by streaming services. So you know what's popping over on Disney Plus or Hulu or even Cinema. Oh my God, it's all porn. And when you want to request something, you just hit request and it'll sync up with your download clients and automatically grab it for you. It's really, really nice. Download clients. Is that how we're getting our movies? Well, maybe we should talk about that. And now for the stuff that no one tends to talk about in their videos, where to acquire this content. And it's because, while yes, you absolutely should be legally ripping your physically owned copies of your movies and TV shows, a lot of the conversation here tends to stir around piracy. And I do not advocate nor condone piracy. I am always an advocate of being able to purchase things legally in the right way whenever you can. So unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about the piracy side of the situation. I'm sorry. I can't tell you anything about how to get started, where to go, what apps to, what, none of that. Unfortunately, in fact, I would like to tell you about how I need 3 different apps in order to download content: an app that scrapes for downloads, an app that actually downloads the files, and an app that can play the files, like Plex, for example. I would love to tell you more about download clients like SAB NZBD and QBitTorrent that are completely legal, completely free to use download clients, and are both available as Docker container apps for your Homelab servers. And I also don't know anything about completely legal file hosting servers such as RealDebrid and Usenet providers, and how to find those Usenet providers to be able to power those apps. So I can't be helpful with that either. Oh, and here's a list of apps I'm also not allowed to talk about. Again, super duper sorry. I would love to talk about these things, but I just can't. I'm sure you're just as upset as I am. Okay, so all of these apps are great, but this is only cool if I'm at home connected to my network. What if I want to access this stuff from, where it's actually going to be useful? I'm not going to be telling my friends to go, yeah, bro, come through to my server, go do whatever you want, check out my services. So if you want to access your self-hosted stuff on the outside internet, you have some options. I'm going to show you 2 that I've been using. The first one is going to be Tailscale. I heard so many people mention this when I started self-hosting, but never really explained to me what it was or what the problem is that it's supposed to fix. So I gotta be the one to do it. So you know how your server only works if your device is connected to your home network? Well, what if your server and your device were on a pretend network that made it look like they were still within the same network, even if you're not home? And it could be from any device as long as you're on the same pretend network. Yeah, that's what Tailscale does. It basically creates an extra network between your devices and your server so they can be phoned home from anywhere and still be in the same network. It's really easy to set up. You just install Tailscale on your server, sign in, and that's it. You're done on your server. Then on whatever device you have, you just install Tailscale. They have clients for basically anything that you want, and that's it. You're done. Now your phone or laptop looks like it's on the same network as your server, even if you're at a friend's house or a coffee shop or something. So now instead of going to your typical server IP, you can just copy paste the Tailscale IP address of your server, and look, you're accessing your server from anywhere. Add a port, and now you can also access your apps too. It's literally so easy to set this up, and it's free. I use it all the time to access my stuff back at home. But here's the thing, this only works if your device has Tailscale installed on it. What if you want anyone to be able to access it without having to install an app like Tailscale? Well, it sounds like you want a reverse proxy. Don't worry, it sounds scary, but it's really not. A reverse proxy is just something in between your personal IP address and the access to the outside internet world. So when someone on the internet wants to access something from your apps or your server, they only talk to the middleman, not directly your server, which could expose your IP address and ports and stuff like that. Now, there's a lot of different options for a reverse proxy. Some people even set up their own. But for me, Cloudflare has been super simple to set up for a reverse proxy. And it's free. Only thing is though, don't use it for streaming Jellyfin. It's against their terms of service. You're gonna need a domain to set this up though. So, dammit.jeff.com or .io or something, you know what I mean? You can buy a domain from a lot of different places. Personally, I was taught in college to always use pork bun because they're really, really cheap. Even cheaper if you're okay with not having a .com URL. Look at that, $3 for your first year. That's less than a McChicken at this point. These are the only 2 things you need at this point, a domain you bought and Cloudflare. I'm gonna link a really great tutorial on how to get this set up in the description because I can't cover it all here. I promise, it's really, really easy. And once you're configured, you can point any of your self-hosted network apps and give the links to your friends or strangers. I don't know, it's your business. I don't ask questions. For example, I have the URL photos.saintchrome.com to point towards my image. So now I can send links to my friends without them having to install Tailscale or something. And this is great because now I can take this domain, plug it into my image app, and I can upload photos to my server from anywhere, completely safe. So if you're wondering how the heck do people access this stuff outside, it's usually one of those, a Tailscale or a reverse proxy. There is so much more I wanted to cover here, like security and home surveillance systems, home assistant management, and a lot more. But this video is already like half an hour long, and I couldn't get to everything in time, so maybe I'll make that its own dedicated upload. I'm not too happy with the state of cameras right now either, especially with the shenanigans that Ring has been pulling. Self-hosting as much as you can is one of the best decisions you can make to remove your independence from external services. Recently, it really feels like they're trying to pull away as much ownership over hardware and software as possible. Like they're getting really aggressive about it. And that, I won't lie, that kind of worries me. So I want to make sure that you guys are prepared and armed with the proper knowledge to take back control from these companies. I think people forget having knowledge like this is an incredibly valuable skill, especially in weird times like this. It means that you're not super reliant on someone else deciding if your stuff is going to turn on tomorrow or not. It's also kind of why I think it's stupid when I hear people say stuff like, oh, Jeff, just stay out of politics and keep making jailbreak videos or stick to the modding videos, bro. It's like, have you not been paying attention? Technology and its effects are deeply intertwined with politics, and it's stupid to think otherwise. Showing you how to modify and reuse your devices so you can use them on your terms and not a company's terms is a political stance. Yeah, we should be able to physically back up our own legal copies of our games without Nintendo meddling is a political stance. I should be able to own the books that I purchase without Amazon changing the terms of sale after the fact is a political stance. Spotify shouldn't be allowed to remotely brick my device and have to mod it again in order to get it to be functional is a political stance. If that's not clear to you, dude, I don't know what you're doing here, honestly. And while no, it's not entirely possible to remove all services entirely from your life, I want you to know that there is a choice, and taking back ownership in places where you can by self-hosting is a great way to remove the reliance you have on outside services. You don't have to replace your entire lifestyle at once. You just have to start. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know this is a really daunting hobby to get into, so I wanted to make sure that I covered as much as I could for normal people to get started. If you took anything from this video and learned something that you were confused about in the past, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon. You'll get early access to videos long before they're posted, and it really helps support the channel financially. And all the money of that Patreon actually goes towards paying some more recent expenses. And if you want to know more about why I finally moved to a proper studio, I made a whole video about it over here on the second channel. Go check it out. It's really, really cool. You get to see everything still kind of being set up still. Click over here to check it out, and thank you for watching.